This video goes over how to make a buyer record be an external agent. Typically, the external agent functionality is for a new traffic source, perhaps, is sending inbound calls. You want to go direct to the buyer, but you want to make sure that either the warm transfer call center or maybe inbound calls from ringless voicemail or SMS or something, that the consumers are truly interested in the call before you route it off to your buyer. So perhaps you set up two people to QC your calls. If they're available, we'll go ahead and QC them. If not, just route to your direct buyers. So that could be one instance where you're just trying to QC a new traffic source. Another great example of external agent is when you're trying to replace an IVR with a voice bot. So you can send that out to boom.ai or floatbot.ai, let the bot interview the consumer, and the bot will tell us, hey, this call is good to go. Or you need to DNC it, or I need some human help, or whatever. So those are the most common uses of external agent would be to do some spot checking, QCing for a new traffic source, or you're trying to actually have a bot interview the consumer instead. Another reason is if you have a real buyer that doesn't want to kill your calls, but he asks a couple of quick questions at the beginning of the call that might eliminate the caller from going to him as a buyer, but as a courtesy, he'll press star to tell you the person is interested, but I can't handle them, send it someone else. And so you can give a real buyer, let's say, information and tell him he can do the star on his calls to give us the call back and route it somewhere else because he can't handle it. So those are some of the reasons you'd have an external agent as a buyer, but I'm going to go ahead and modify this flow. I had already done one, so it's been deleted. Trying to make a video here and on take 5, so sorry about that. So I can go ahead and add this new buyer here, and I'm going to say create brand new, and I'll give the phone number. So this person's working at home. I'm not going to give them any hours of operation or anything. They're just going to be open 24/7, and they're going to be able to QC calls whenever they feel like it. So maybe I pay them piecemeal for every call they forward. I give them $1. Whatever you want to do. But that's how you're doing things. So the person's willing to log in and make some money QCing calls for you to make sure they're good. So I'm going to call this external agent 12, but you could call it, John Smith, Mary Jane Doe, whatever. All right, so I can go ahead and do that. And that would set it up 24/7. You can go peek at that, but it's not a big deal. But I'm going to edit here. I do, again, always have the habit of saving that call flow so I don't forget to save it. And the buyer I just added is not really there because I forgot to update the call flow. But now I'm going to go ahead and edit this in a whole new window so I have the full screen to show you here. But the key to making this an external agent is down here in call forwarding. So all I have to do is say this call is going to an external agent. What is that doing? It's basically saying, hey, TrackDrive, normally a conference, there's a consumer and a buyer in it, but when the buyer hangs up, we drop the call. In this situation, we're telling TrackDrive, hey, don't drop, if the consumer is left alone, I don't want to drop this call. They might be telling us to do something, right? So we could do something. So that's the difference here, is that we'll keep the call going even though one person might be left alone. Now I've already keyed in these external agent buyer keys, but I'll quickly edit that for you so you can see. Got to get to the menu bar, there it is. So I can edit that in a new window as well. So I had created a group called External Agent Buyer Keys, and these are key presses that the buyer can press. Remember, I had an inbound key press as well to put on numbers, but I only configured the pound or the star on that to route it to a new buyer. In this situation, I've done the same key press. So I've said, external agents, if you press the star key, we're just going to continue routing the call. If you press the pound key, so when the pound is pressed here, we're not going to continue routing the call. We're going to add it to the do not call because either the human or the bot was told I'm not interested, DNC me. Now you could have not interested, remove them from schedule or take me off your list, add to DNC. So whatever buttons you want to press, we'll give the bot or the human whatever buttons you want to press. So I could have had another button 8, which means that they're not interested. That won't kill them from ever calling back in or getting called from TrackDrive, but it'll take them off our outbound dial list, for example, if we had a bot involved. Okay, so that's what I did there. And then I did this one more thing here where I'm going to continue routing the call, but in this situation I'm saying, hey, a bot got stuck. So we had an API endpoint for the bot to say I'm pressing key 9, which will continue routing the call, but I'm going to tag the call that is coming back from an artificial intelligence bot, and then I'll be able to use this tag, this token, on the buyers that will that are the real human externally or agents that are going to QC the call that the bot couldn't handle so that we can take care of that. So that's what's going on there with that, any key press you want. Now again, a bot can't really press keys, so certainly you need to know about our API documentation for that. So if you search, go through our TrackDrive calls that send key press, but if you just search when you get to api.trackdrive.net/API blah blah blah, you're going to be able to get how to send the key presses back. But don't worry, I mean I help all the bot companies the first time so that they understand what our key press returns is. They can send any data they want. Like if the bot got their first name, last name, address, and email, great. They're going to tell us to route the call, and they can send all that data back in this key press. So the bots are going to talk to us via key press. A human would probably have the active call on the screen and be modifying the contact fields as they're interviewing the client, and then they press star and take it back. So you are able to get data keyed in the entire time these agents are working with that. So I'm going to go ahead and update, and I'm done. So that's how I have an external agent on TrackDrive as a buyer, and how you control the key presses that external buyer agent can do to control the call to come back to TrackDrive.